Coach, is having maybe a little bit more of a window into playing for the Big Ten championship something you even address with your team?
I'm sure they're aware of that, and if not, we'll make them aware of it, and I'm sure they are.
Jim, just looking at some defensive stats, I think nine offensive touchdowns given up this year, 12 total. Just can you talk about the evolution of this defense and the way it has bounced back these past two games, after those past two games?
Yeah, I mean, it's been doing some things that are great. But in terms of like answering the questions of the evolution or how we got here or where we're at and being in that position, we feel like more like we're still asking questions. How can we get better? Where else can we improve? What else can we do to help our team improve? So not so much the answering the questions, more asking them, how do we get better?
Is there any one area specifically that you feel like you guys want to improve
No, not that list for you either. I mean, in all phases, in all areas. I mean, we're constantly asking ourselves those questions.
Down here in the front on the left, John.
Coach, you weren't happy about the attempt to deceive call.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get anything that clarifies it more for you and how it's going to be called in this league going forward?
Yes. They said it wasn't an attempt to deceive. It was an attempt to confuse. That was the only language that the official used. It's take the rules very seriously and understanding the rules, understanding the consistency, the clarity of rules, and not just the rules, but the spirit of the rules, and doing everything that we can to follow the rules. So yeah, I said I was offended after the game to have an unsportsmanlike conduct called on us, and the language that they used, it's offensive because we take it very seriously to know what to teach our players and tell our team. No, there's no rule in the rule book that you can go back to and say that we broke. In fact, we asked for interpretation weeks ago and followed it to the best of our ability, and it needs specifics. What was it about it that made it an illegal play versus what would make it an illegal play? I mean, everything else in the rule book is specific, but this one seems to fall into a category that is left to judgment, whether a team's trying to confuse the opponent, and that's an awesome responsibility for anybody. And why have it? Why not specifically write it? How far can you be from the boundary? Your widest eligible receiver during a substitution, after a substitution occurs. Is it in the bench area? Has to be closer into the field, to the numbers, to the outside of the bench area. It can be closer to the sideline, but there really needs to be some specifics, because that's that interpretation. We put a lot of work into making sure that we follow the rules to not just the letter, but the spirit of them. And you start thinking, playing the scenarios. I mean, what else could be deemed, trying to confuse the defense? What would be next? Skipping the ball off the turf. The backward pass where you skip it off the turf, and defense thinks that's a incomplete pass. Everybody stops. They pick it up, throw it, etc. I mean, those need to have specifics on it. That's my feeling. Yeah, still remain offended by that. And I need some clarity and consistency on another thing I'm offended by. We've got a defenseless player covering a punt, and he gets hit in the back, in our opinion, in the back of the head, which gets called a targeting foul. It goes up to the booth and they say it's not targeting, but no foul is incurred. It's a player lines up a player. Looked like he made a decision to hit him high, hit him in the back. At least should be a block in the back. Should be unsportsmanlike for making that play. So I'm offended for our defenseless player. So you can put that on the list of a couple things, top 5.
Jim, you talked a lot about Jabril on Saturday after the game. How valuable have you found him to become as a decoy, just on the plays that he's on the offense but doesn't get the ball?
Valuable. Yeah, he draws a lot of attention. The play where we hit Sione Huma, 3.5, almost 4 players, followed Jabril.
Stand the left in the middle, Steve.
Jim, can you talk about Davion, the strides you've seen him make?
The Lonesome End. You ever heard of the Lonesome End?
Who's close?
The Lonesome End. Bill. It was Bill Edwards. Played for Army. Became famous in 1958. He was the Lonesome End. He would stand out wide, and so that's out of football, apparently. Would like to get in the memo on that.
You're still rolling on it.
I was still rolling on that. Yeah, I was still.
With Davion, could you talk about the strides you've seen him make?
Red Blake was the coach.
A good friend of his. Could you talk about the strides that Davion's made as a running back and as a receiver for Hardy passing?
Yeah, very, very reliable. I think he was feeling better this game. And I thought he had some more Davion-like runs and did a very good job, exceptional in the screen game. I thought he executed those plays extremely well. But yeah, he's very reliable as a blocker as well. I said it's the third way when he's in protection or blocking for one of our other runners. He's very good in all 3 of those phases.
Over to your right, Nick.
Jim, you said after the game you were hoping to get good news on Ryan Glasgow, whether it was a tear or a strain in his shoulder. You got any update on Ryan?
Not yet.
Not yet. Also, I want to ask Mario Ojimudi. I think someone had said earlier in the year you guys were thinking about maybe finding a way to get an extra year for him. Is that still something that is on your plate, or is he done?
There's an appeal process.
And you guys are in the middle of that now?
It's a process.
Move back over here to the left, Larry.
Coach, could it be a solution back to targeting? If a targeting is called, that's an automatic personal foul, but then it's reviewed to see if it's targeting. It seems like a simple solution. If you call targeting, that's an automatic personal foul, if you will, but then the targeting part of it is reviewed. Would that be a potential solution you would suggest? Or
Yeah, I think the targeting call, should not be one that is the end all be all of the play. It's if there was a late hit involved, a personal foul involved, if there was a block in the back, if there was a face mask, if there was something that gets called the targeting. To me is goes up for review. That determines whether the player stays in the game or is ejected. That was my understanding of it, and I don't feel like it should be the end all be all to the play, because we've seen it called differently, where it's the only thing called and there was a late hit involved or a defenseless player involved, and I've seen it called compare the two. Joe Bolden gets pushed thrown into a player and taps a guy in the helmet, and it's called personal foul and targeting, and it was upheld, and you stand this play next to it, and I feel like there's inconsistency there, and so seeking clarity.
John.
Yeah, Coach, your thoughts on trying to contain the Indiana offense? It can be tough at times.
Yeah. That'll be the case this week, next week, and the week after. You're playing the top-rated quarterbacks, top 3 rated quarterbacks in the conference, and be a great challenge. This team is dangerous, and they've played all the good teams and played them all really good, with chances to win, and just every time they take the field. So understand the task there. It's nice to see Jake Rudock now. If you look, he's 4th. He's up. Jake Rudock's up there with the big guys. So that's it's good to see. I really felt like watching this game. Jake played his best game, and even he looked like an NFL type quarterback. Somebody that would have a future playing in that league. The way he's now playing and operating, I think I see that jump that he's made.
Over to your right, the front row.
Braden played with a massive wrap on his arm, elbow or something
Elbow,
like that.
yeah.
What's the kind of fine line when you decide whether a guy can, he has to use his arms, obviously, in that position. What's where you replace him or you move guys around? How do you get to that fine line?
Well, it first starts with, can the player injure himself any worse than he is? And you rely on the doctors and the trainers to make that evaluation. And then, in Ben's case, he could use the brace, and then you determine, how effective he is. Talk to him. Is there any pain associated with playing the position that he has to play? And how effective is he? Is he effective? Is he more effective than somebody else that could play the position? So that would be the explanation. No, I didn't. I did not. Thought he played well. I'm good. Thank you.
Over to the left here, Adam.
With 4 minutes left in the second quarter, you called timeout on a Rutgers kickoff. What went into that decision?
I didn't feel like we had defended the previous onside kick very well, and wanted to see what their intentions were for the next one. So, I wasn't happy the way we were covering the kickoffs, covering the punts, and the way we defended the onside kick. Really got lucky to get that ball back. So it was. Now you have the whole top 5 of how offended I was.
Guys down here to Mike.
Jim, you guys had a season-high offensive lead in explosive plays, the 20-yard that they keep track of, and the 30-yard. Was there? Do you have an explanation when someone asked about the evolution of the defense? Is that just the offense kind of finally hitting its stride?
Our offense?
Yes.
I think our offense has played extremely well in this game. But I think it's done well at other times as well.
Time for a couple more. We'll start over here, Angelique.
Hitting the stride analogy. Well, it confuses me, I guess. I don't understand it. Don't know if I gave you a good enough answer, but.
When did you said that Jake has made a jump. When did you detect that? You said even at the Minnesota game, you thought he was playing a terrific game in that game.
Yeah, just watching it with my own eyes, my own opinion. And I don't know, to compare it to or what analogy you could make, but I would compare it to you see some of the bird watchers that can tell you what kind of bird it is and species, et cetera, by the way it moves, and I think they call it the gist of a bird. Just in my own eye, the gist of an NFL quarterback or not. I'm seeing now after this game, I'm seeing Jake that way.
Did you see that potential there, when you brought him in from Iowa?
No, I saw it this week. I saw it. I see the way I see him now. The way I see him playing this game, the things he does now, say, okay, that's an NFL quarterback to me.
If I could follow up on your offended list, generally speaking, has it been, from what you've seen, even from watching other games, the most inconsistent officiating maybe this season? Have you seen? Even in your
No.
games?
And again, I have great respect for the rules, but not only that, for the people that officiate the games. It's a very hard job. That's things are happening so fast with some of the greatest athletes in the world. Not quite that level, but the one right below it, certainly. And no, they do it. They do a very good job. I think this, when it comes to the penalty we got for the unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, the confusing the defense, I think that the rule book has no specifics to that. You're putting officials in a tough spot. I mean, it could be it's an interpretation. It's there needs to be, everything else in the rule book has specifics, and it should, but that doesn't.
But you talked about the targeting with Bolden, and then even before that, the roughing the kicker in the Oregon State game. So it seemed like there was a.
That's not very many, But always, what you're striving for is consistency and clarity, so that you can coach your players, and you take great pride in understanding the rules and following the rules. And I do very much, and not just the letter of the rule, but the spirit of it. So that's what I was offended by. For somebody to say, hey, that's unsportsmanlike. I mean, take my sportsmanship very seriously. I want to do it at the highest level. And you also want to be able to talk to your players on what the rules are, and to give them clarity. So I'm not offended by the officials. I think we got.
Last question in the back window.
Hey, Jim, I'm going to ask you a more general question, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Now that you're back in the college ranks, can you talk about what it is that you really like about coaching college players as opposed to professional, and on the other end of the spectrum, what don't you like as opposed to coaching pro players?
To me, it's when it gets into the questions about comparing, one thing to another, one person to another, I avoid it like the plague. Something always gets diminished, or somebody always gets diminished. It always hits my ear as a question that's asked to divide or be divisive or demean. So I avoid answering those. They're all good. They're both good. They're both great. Love coaching.
What's been refreshing to come back and deal with college players?
Well, now that I know what we're tracking around, I'll just. They're both great. They're both great. I know what you're trying to find out. They're both great. I love coaching. What's been tremendous here is, you got it all. I mean, I love football. I love the University of Michigan, and I love coaching, and get to do all three of those. It's as my dad would say, who's got it better than us? Nobody.
On that note, thanks, Coach.
Thanks a lot.